Birgit Johnson has something to talk to us about. Birgit, you know the routine. Please sign in and with your name and your address.
A few of us regular Rich, a few of the regular Richfield Open Space and Vets Park regulars attended the February 28th City Council meeting, and I invited city staff and elected officials to come to Vets Park and join in on cleaning our parks. A good thing happened on April 29th, and we had a Vets Park cleanup event with several groups and city staff and elected officials attending. Participants for the cleanup included Mayor Pat Elliott, council members Maria Reagan Gonzalez, Michael Howard, Richfield Park Director Jim Topitzhofers, members of the Richfield Optimist Club, Richfield Open Space, and Environmental Friends of Veterans Memorial Park. It was a fun and productive event, with everyone working hard together. Thank you for coming to the event and not ignoring our requests. We can all contribute, but first we must be given this chance. My hope is for more cooperation like this last event for the future. There is still garbage and trash in places more difficult to reach, and I hope for a greater and more challenged cleanup of Veterans Memorial Park. And maybe we can organize a garlic mustard and buckthorn pull. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. If I'm not mistaken, I think Mr. Topitzhofer has indicated that there's at least one, maybe two other organized cleaning efforts over at Veterans, and I think hoping that we can spread it to all our parks and that the people up here on the dais can go out and help everybody else pick them up. So I think it was a great start, and I hope we continue on the same path.
And in places like the Robertsburg Bird Sanctuary, they organize for mustard, garlic mustard pools and buckthorn. And I hope that, well, this year for the garlic mustard, it may be too late, but it's kind of taking over. And I think that's probably the case in the other parks too.
I think with the buckthorns, I'm just going to go with the goats, thank you. But
Okay,
that's
well,
just
thank
me.
you.
That's just me. Could we all stand and pledge allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we have one of our more, well, let's do this first. At this time, I would move the approval of the minutes of the special city council work session of April 25th, 2017, the special concurrent city council and HRA work session of April 25th, 2017, special city council work session of April 25th, 2017, regular city council meeting of April 25th, 2017, and special city council work session of May 2nd, 2017.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval pass. At this time, as I started to say before, is one of the more pleasant things we get to do, and we get to watch the fire chief swear in a new firefighter, and they're always welcome to the community and to the family.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight we're bringing forward our newest firefighter, and he's going to be receiving his badge. He's successfully completed his probation and his training with the Richfield Fire Department, and he's ready to receive his badge. Before we start, I wanted to just spend a moment taking a look at the badge and some of the symbolism that's on the firefighter's badge. If you look around the exterior, there's a chain, and it's unbroken, and that symbolizes the unbroken service that we have and dedication we have to the community. In the center, you'll see the tools of our trade: ladder, pike pole, helmet, and they're crossed. So that's very similar to the military. So what we fight is fire and danger. So when you use those in combat in the military, you get to cross them, and we get to cross them when we fight fire. At the very top, many people think that's an eagle, but actually that's a phoenix. And then the phoenix is a mythological bird that when exposed to fire, it's reborn, and it can continuously do that. So that's the symbolism of the firefighter's badge. Kevin O'Connell is our newest firefighter. Kevin's brought along his family. He's got his wife, Sarah, his daughter, Ada, and his father and mother, Brian and Patty. And Sarah, I believe you're going to pin the badge on Kevin.
Cute. Congratulations. I want to know what the daughter's name is. Ada. Ada. Ah, okay. Hi, Ada. Hi.
We're having a contest to see which firefighter she talks to first. So, other than her father.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chief.
he's a cutie.
Next agenda item is hats off to Hometown Hits, and I think we'll start with Councilmember Regan Gonzalez tonight.
Just a couple things I would like to recognize. So one of the things is thank you, Birgit, for coming up. And that was also one community event that I wanted to acknowledge and just say it was great to be a part of. It was a beautiful day, and there was a lot of community members out cleaning up the park, and a lot of people who were enjoying the park saying thank you to the residents who were picking up. So thank you to the staff, thank you to the residents, and everyone who contributed to that. And I'm excited for more cleanups coming up. And I also want to say that the Fowl Dinner, the Friends of Wood Lake Dinner, was an excellent fundraiser, a really great community event, excellent silent auction, great food, and I know way more about goldfish than I ever wanted to learn and know. It was actually very interesting, but another great community event that happened recently. And then something that is upcoming and very exciting, one of the favorite things that I do during the summer is go to farmers markets. I absolutely love farmers markets. So the Richfield Farmers Market kickoff and opening is on May 20th, and the market is open from 7 a.m. to noon, and there will be live music, food, vegetables, not too much produce, but a lot of prepared food, and agricultural products. And then we're also going to have different kids activities, so it's going to be a great time for families to come and enjoy the summer and our farmers market.
Thank you. Councilmember Howard?
I have a few items. I'd echo Councilmember Regan Gonzalez and what the mayor said about the cleanup effort, and just the amount of people, which is great to see that many people together. And I know we need to be doing cleanups all year round, but the idea of having a kind of signature big community event each year that we kind of take forward year after year is something that I think we could strive for and build upon. And so thank you for bringing the idea to us and for all the staff and those that work together on it. Along with the farmers market makes you think of summer, and so along with that, I wanted to mention the pool will be opening soon. I don't know if we have a date yet for that, but we do, to get ready, the Parks and Rec Department has the Living Social coupon again. If you go to livingsocial.com and just search Richfield swimming pool, you can get a half-off summer pass for the use of the outdoor pool. Another event coming up actually tomorrow that I wanted to highlight was, and it's hosted by the Richfield Human Rights Commission, Islam 101, and it's an opportunity to learn about the religion of Islam, and it's an event that we hosted last year. I believe Mayor Elliott attended as well as I did, and it was just a really, I really enjoyed the event, and I think everyone that was there did, just an opportunity to learn from one another. And that is Wednesday, May 10th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m., and that's at House of Prayer Lutheran Church. And the last thing I wanted to mention, and I can't remember, this might have been mentioned at our last meeting, but the effort to get ready for the comp plan and get public input. A really cool way to go about that is this interactive web tool that's available on the website. It was posted on our Facebook, this wiki map, which is kind of a newer technology to me. I had a fun time playing around with it for an hour or so. You can essentially go online and see a big map of the city and use little pins to mark your favorite spot in Richfield or the biggest concern you have for Richfield. And then you can take a look at what other people, where they've put their pins and what their comments are. As a council member, it's just incredibly valuable to get a sense of what people think about each area of the city and where people think we're doing well and where maybe not so much, but would really encourage everyone to go visit that website, and you can find it on our city website and then on our Facebook as well, and play around with it and put your own comments as well.
Thank you. Assistant City Manager, one more demerit for the City Manager. I told him to keep his phone off in the City Council meeting.
I just want to make a note that that was not a millennial who had that happen, just to make sure everybody knows.
So noted, so noted. Far from it. I want to echo Councilmember Howard's discussion about Islam 101. You know, a lot of times we think that we know what we don't know, and so we don't bother to try to learn about it. What I found fascinating when I went to the Islam 101 last year was how illuminating it was, and how, rather than contrast the religion with some of the Christian religions, whether it's Catholicism, Lutheranism, anything, is the similarities in a lot of the structure, the similarity in a lot of the beliefs. Little different teachings, but I think the most important thing I took away from it was the contrasts are minimal compared to the consistency and what it's about. It's about being a better person, making a better community, living in a better world. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's religion, it's what people believe in, and there's many more comparisons than contrasts. So I think if you go, I think you'll find it illuminating, much like I did. Also, in regards to the cleanup over at Veterans, it was fun. It was a great day and everything, and I have to admit that I saw a lot of parts of the park that I'd never seen before. And I think, Birgit, I can't remember how many acres is that park? I think somebody had mentioned to me, I was surprised, but when I was about halfway around it, I thought it was way too large. So, but I enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing it at a lot of the other parks here. So with that being said, I'll pass it off to Councilmember Garcia, who always has things for us.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. Well, first I wanted to welcome a friend of mine, John Bielstad, who is a Richfield volunteer extraordinaire. He's all over the place and has always, you know, been working on behalf of kids, of seniors, of improvements and advancing our community's tax base, the whole works. And he brought with him his grandson Ethan, who is in a government class, and he needed to experience something like a board council meeting. So, and now, John, if he falls asleep, make sure to wake him up. So welcome to Richfield, and thank you for coming, and feel free to call any of us if we can be of any help to you in your class. First, I wanted to talk about Unity in the Community, which will take place May the 25th, and that will be from 5 to 7:30 p.m., and that will be at Veterans Community Park. It's Unity in the Community, which brings us all together. So we'll all be sharing culture, we'll be sharing food, we'll be sharing the arts, conversation. It'll be a lot of fun, and it's an opportunity for us to get to know our neighbors and to participate and find out a little bit about their background and hear their stories and kind of do exactly what the title says, become united in this great community that we have. The other thing is the citywide garage sale, and that will be May the 18th through the 20th. Having said that, it so happens that there will be Kevin Williams, Integrity Lakes. He will be having at 6232 Girard Avenue South, they will be collecting canned goods and other foods to donate to the Richfield schools. And they will be open by between 9 and 5 p.m. during the citywide garage sale. So if you go and you donate some food, you will receive some packets of seeds that you can plant, and they will be seeds that are that attract more monarch butterflies. So it's all around a good deal. So I urge you to come on May the 18th through the 20th to the citywide garage sale in Richfield. Now, having said that, I have one more, and then I'm done. I just wanted to commend our city staff, and that's Chris Regis and Mr. Devich, who really walked us through some key strategies regarding when we talked about, the budget. We're under modern times, it seems, where we live in danger of maybe losing the partnership that we have had with the state and with the federal government. So we wanted to look at exactly where we were in not only receiving things like local government aid, fiscal disparities, but other governmental aid from other entities that help support us. And, we've been very fortunate that we've had city staff that has really anticipated, the future and what may or may not happen. And he and Mr. Regis, Mr. Devich and Mr. Regis have really come upon a strategy, I think, that gives us a realistic look at what our future is going to look like, and planned for that future, so we can, make sure not only that we're solvent, and that we can continue with the great city services that we have, but that also, if we have to have a raise in the property levy, that we have a cushion where we can help ease that burden. So my hat's off to our staff, and I think we rarely appreciate them, but now that things are happening at the legislature and in the Congress, we've got to really be smart thinking and looking at what's coming down the pike. So thank you for that, Mr. Devich.
Well said, Councilmember Garcia. Thank you. I would accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. Next item is the consent calendar. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. And once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and the recommended actions will also have been approved, and no further action on these items is necessary. Tonight, there are only two items on the consent calendar. Item A, and this may be misprinted in some of the agendas that are out. There was a little mistake in one of the addresses, or two of the addresses, but it is item A, consideration of the approval of the first reading of an ordinance rezoning properties currently addressed as 6601 16th Avenue, 6609 16th Avenue, 6615 16th Avenue, 6600 17th Avenue, 6608 17th Avenue, and 6614 17th Avenue from general business C2 to planned general business PC2. And I just want to make a quick comment on that. This is the first reading of an administrative requirement And approval does not obligate the city council to approve the ordinance upon second reading, nor does it obligate the city council to approve any specific land use plans. The second reading of the ordinance and final development plans are scheduled for consideration by the city council on May 24th. So I just wanted to make that clear to folks who might be watching. And we have item B, which is consideration of the approval of a resolution authorizing the city to affirm the monetary limits on statutory municipal tort liability. And that would conclude tonight's consent calendar.
Thank you. I'd move the consent calendar. Any other comments?
I just wanted to give a quick thank you to the city staff who've been working really hard on item A and working along with myself and residents on 16th Avenue and in the neighborhood who are concerned and have a lot of questions around the development, traffic, and planning. And John Stark and myself and Lonnie, who is here, the developer, had a meeting with residents specifically to answer some of these questions. And then we have another one coming up next week to specifically address traffic concerns. So I just wanted to say thank you again for everybody's collaboration and hard work on this. And we're going to continue to have community conversations on this next week.
Thank you, Councilmember. The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar passes. Next item is item 6, Councilmember Howard.
No, that's
Oh,
fine.
I'm sorry. That's Councilmember Garcia.
Okay. Not only do I have my usual cough, but it's allergy season too. This is a public hearing and consideration of the approval of enabling legislation relating to the formation and administration of the Economic Development Authority in and for the city of Richfield. In 2016 goal setting and budget presentations, city staff recommended the consideration of the formation of an economic development authority. This is what I'm talking about, a city that looks forward and tries to tackle some of these problems before they actually happen. Based on that recommendation, the City Council and Housing and Redevelopment Authority held joint work sessions on March the 20th and April the 25th of this year to discuss the topic. At each of those meetings, there was a general consensus that creation of the Economic Development Authority would provide both the authority and a funding mechanism through an Economic Development Authority levy to provide beneficial economic development, business assistance, and housing assistance programming. In particular, they would provide long-term funding solutions to continue the Kids at Home and transformation loan programs. City staff was directed to take the necessary administrative steps in order to bring action steps to the City Council and or HRA for formal consideration of the creation of the EDA. And as we pondered this, one of the things that that we talked about was this is such an important tool that we're starting off, and it's necessary. I think it's a very wise idea to do this, and we have had it analyzed by Ellers Associates and other folks, and when you're talking about the cost for Richfield residents on a home that is between $175,000 and $200,000, that would be approximately 28 to 33 cents per year. So that's not bad for good investment. As we were discussing this, myself and Mayor Elliott were thinking of how we put together this Economic Development Authority. Should we use the HRA, the 5 members of the HRA and 2 city council members sit on that, or does the city council 5 members become that authority? And I think that we both talked about that it would be a good idea, and I applaud Mayor Elliott for coming up with the fact is that we do have 2 council members that will be on the HRA, but it would be nice for the rest, the other three other council members to also look at this and learn from it and make sure that, you know, that we have the information the same way they do, and so that we can offer our counsel and maybe a little advice or ask questions that maybe the HRA didn't think of. And I thought that was a wonderful idea. And that, you know, later on that can change, but at least this is a new step for us. So I'll just read off some of the things some of the limits of powers as our attorney wrote it down here, that the sale of all the bonds and other obligations issued by the Richfield Economic Development Authority must be approved by the City Council before issuance. And they must follow the budget process the same way that city departments do in accordance with city policies, resolutions, and ordinances. The Economic Development Authority must be consistent with the city comprehensive plan in official controls implementing the comprehensive plan. And finally, they must obtain approval of its proposed plans for development and redevelopment from the City Council. And when you look at the resolution, I think it's pretty direct, and I think it'll be a big plus for the city. And Mayor, this is a public hearing.
This is a public hearing. Anybody care to come forward and speak in regards to this item on the agenda? Anyone care to speak?
See no one, I will move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you want to move it, and then we can have comments from the other council?
Certainly. Let me find it again here. I will move that we, excuse me. I move that we approve an enabling resolution establishing the Richfield Economic Development Authority and approve a resolution approving a present intent to levy a tax for economic development purposes pursuant to Minnesota State Statute Section 469.107.
Second.
Just
Comments?
Okay. Just offer a few. I want to thank the mayor and really all council members for the discussion we've had on this and ability to move forward. As Councilmember Garcia mentioned, I do think this is a tool for the city at the right time, where there's a lot of momentum in our community, and but also a lot of challenges. And I think this helps position the city for a brighter future and gives us some tools to create, more economic development and better housing for all comers. And in particular, we've had discussions about our nation-leading Kids at Home program. I just want to particularly call that out, that the EDA is going to help us, I believe, to provide some dependable funding one way or another for Kids at Home, which is a great thing for us to have a little bit of dependability, and I hope even further investments than we're currently making. And then just to mention, we had a great work session on housing just a couple weeks ago. In a lot of ways, this EDA is a first step and part of, I think, positive momentum we can have to addressing housing in our city in a way that is a tool, again, to build and strengthen housing for people at all levels, of all comers in our city. And so it's a great step, and I'm glad we're moving forward with it.
Thank you. I share that consideration that it's a tool that is going to have a lot of applications, and it's nice to have something additional in regard, and like the HRA. And I also want to endorse what Councilmember Garcia said about, I think that a combination of both elected and appointed citizens is a good way to do that. It gives a balance and gives a different perspective between the appointed and the elected. And plus, there's some checks and balances built in that make sure that there's a consensus that we're moving in the right direction and we're using the funds in the appropriate manner. So with that being said, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Councilmember Howard.
Number 7. Let's see, or number. I'm jumping all over here. So we have number 7. So I have a public hearing in consideration of the approval of an enabling resolution. Oh, is that what we just did? Can we just do the EDA?
You have to go to 7.
Well, when you click on 7, you get
Yeah,
6.
we're having,
Bookmarks aren't-
technical
I just see the-
difficulties here.
yes,
Hold,
we
please.
are. So,
Can we
yeah.
put on the music that has like
Yeah.
all right. Page 53. Thank you.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I pulled up number 7 like 3 times, and I went to number 6, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I meant to go to number 7.
So what page we have here? Scrolling. Still not going there. All right, here we go, folks. This is why you came to this meeting, right? To just watch democracy in action up here. All right, okay. I have a consideration of the approval of a resolution granting a conditional use permit in variances to allow a buffet restaurant to operate in the former Old Country Buffet space at 6601 Nicollet Avenue. After operating a restaurant at 6601 Nicollet Avenue for several decades, Old Country Buffet closed for business in February 2016, and the space has remained vacant since. Earlier this year, a new buffet restaurant, Lakes Buffet, approached the city about occupying the space. Because the space has been vacant for more than 1 year, all prior approvals for a restaurant have expired. Traditional or cafeteria-style restaurants are a conditional use in the C2 General Business Zoning District. In order to operate a restaurant in this location, the applicant is requesting approval of a conditional use permit and a variance from the city's odor control regulations. The zoning code establishes requirements for odor control equipment for commercial kitchens that abut residential property and differentiates between new and pre-existing restaurant sites. Because this space has been vacant for more than 1 year, the code views this as a new restaurant site rather than a pre-existing site. New restaurant sites must install odor control equipment, whereas pre-existing sites are instead required to provide plans for professionally designed odor control remedy. For pre-existing sites, complaints of odor impacts may result in requiring that the planned odor control device be installed. The applicant is requesting a variance to be considered a pre-existing site rather than a new restaurant site. By requiring professionally drawn and engineered plans now, both the city and the applicant are assured that the building could accommodate odor control equipment should it be necessary in the future. The applicant is also requesting a variance to reduce the off-street parking requirement. Approximately 13 parking stalls will be lost due to construction of a roundabout at the corner of 66th Street and Nicollet in 2018. This pending modification to the parking lot is a unique circumstance not created by the applicant and affects the property as a whole rather than this particular restaurant tenant. A preliminary plan to reconfigure the parking lot is attached to this report. A revised site plan meeting all city requirements is required to be submitted for approval by city staff within 1 year, including a pedestrian route to the public sidewalk and bicycle parking for a minimum of 6 bikes. Finding that the proposal meets requirements, staff is recommending approval of the conditional use permit and variances. I'll make the motion. have a couple comments, but I'll make the motion to approve a resolution granting a conditional use permit and variances to allow a buffet restaurant at 6601 Nicollet Avenue.
I would second. Comments, Councilmember Howard?
I just want to comment on the Planning Commission meeting. I wasn't able to attend, but watched later and just appreciated the discussion of the Planning Commission on this issue. And it, in particular, I know that the discussion around odor predates me by about a year or so when I've been on the council, but just sort of seeing this now in application, I think with this coming forward, to me seems like a wise move. There's kind of some infrastructure in place if there becomes an issue with odor. I did have one question. Have we historically had any complaints about odor with the Old Country Buffet?
Mr. Mayor and council members, no, I'm not aware of any complaints we had ever had.
That was just as kind of listening to the discussion, and that was just something that came to mind since it is a buffet. It's going into the same facility, and I also had never heard of any complaints. So I was just curious about it. But in case there is, it sounds like there's some remedies to bear in place for that. So I just commend the work that was done by the council before I was here on that work, and now we get to kind of see it in action. So,
If I may, in terms of the work the council did, it was a joint effort between the council and staff, and we had some lengthy discussions on trying to take a look at some of the ordinances and everything, and have some flexibility, just in the sense that one size doesn't fit all, but at the same time making sure we're still protecting the citizens' rights and not overstepping our bounds in the interest of bringing in new businesses or new restaurants that may have a negative impact on the neighborhoods. And I know, at the Planning Commission, there were some comments from neighbors about being concerned about it, particularly as there's a high concentration of restaurants in that particular area. And one question I do have, John, is when Old Country Buffet shut down, did they pull out all the mechanical and stuff, or because I'm assuming they had some pretty sophisticated odor controls when they were operating the restaurant there.
Mr. Mayor, a couple of answers to that. One is I believe they left most of the equipment in there. Secondly, I don't think that they had any form of odor control.
Okay.
Well, I should rephrase that. If there was odor control, it was passive rather than active. So they can do that through charcoal filters and things of that nature. I do believe that the new operator is adding cooking equipment. Currently, I believe there's one commercial vent, and they're adding enough cooking equipment to need to add another commercial vent. And it's those commercial vents that really trigger at least the consideration of odor control.
And am I correct in assuming that staff will get engineering drawings or engineering analysis showing that if in fact odors become a problem, they've got it set up, and at least they're building it with the anticipation, if necessary, they can add whatever odor controls we require?
That's correct. We won't issue any building permits until we have those in hand.
Okay, and that's an engineer's report on odor control and everything that we'll have in hand,
Right.
if in fact we meet the two verifiable complaints, and there is actually I think Matt Brillhart said it best. He said it's just a smell test. If you go out there, there's really no testing devices, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like you'll when you smell it, you'll know it. So we've got a procedure in place that's going to accommodate, and the neighbors will be part and parcel if in fact we ever reach that stage.
Yep.
Okay. I believe the applicant is here, Ms. Chan. No? Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's passed.
Councilmember Howard, the claims and payroll.
Claims and payroll?
I will move it. I think we're a little bit slow tonight.
Okay,
We're
well,
just having so much fun up here.
and as partial for the city manager's sanctions, I was going to eliminate the city manager's report, but I think I'll let him go ahead anyhow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I really don't have anything new to report on city manager report, other than, things that I might have shot out by email or anything, but nothing earth-shaking. Well, the one thing I will say, and that is that just to remind folks that there is a special election coming up,
Good point.
and that takes place on the 23rd of May, and that's for election of Ward 1, and there are 4 candidates running, and early voting is open right now, and people can come here to vote, or they can vote absentee, but they should vote.
I would like to add to that there's 4 very qualified candidates. They are actively pursuing the seat, which is nice to see. There's been a great exchange of ideas and opinions. There was an informal meeting set up by some neighborhood activists a couple weeks ago. The League of Women Voters had the forum Saturday. It was some really great comments, great exchanges, and it's exciting to see 4 qualified candidates running for Ward 1, and I anticipate whoever gets elected is going to be a wonderful council member. So, anything else?
Mr. Mayor, I did cross out city manager's, his pay,
Okay.
and minus 120 for.
Well, the only thing I was going to say, we should move his evaluation back a year, but we may not be able to find him then, so we'll probably have to put that on the calendar anyhow. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.